we had this horrific event that happened over the weekend in Aurora, Colorado, and Bill Keller is on the line with us. He's president of Bill Keller Ministries. LivePrayer.com is the website. Founder of LivePrayer.com. Bill, welcome back to the program.
Tom, always good to be on with you, my friend.
Thank you. I understand that you. Well, let me not personalize this. I'm seeing headlines: evangelical leaders blame liberals and meeting for Aurora shootings. Say only Christian victims will go to heaven. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I'll tell you. Number one, let's not be mistaken. The ultimate blame for what happened in Aurora, Colorado, lies in the hands of the guy who pulled the trigger. Okay, so let's just say that right up front. He's the one responsible. Nobody else. He exercised his free will and did that. I think where a lot of people, including myself, are coming from, however, we have over the last couple decades created an interesting culture of death in this country, where we've taken God and biblical values out of the mainstream. We've replaced it with all kinds of perversions of marriage and family. And in the process, through Hollywood, through the internet, through television, we have pushed a very godless agenda on this culture that has created an environment that does make it very ripe for people who are sick to act out those sick fantasies.
Then why was it that when George Washington was president, who refused to ever confess Christian belief, and in fact, in his deathbed, when they asked, do you want to minister, he explicitly said no. Why was it that Thomas Jefferson, who went out of his way to point out that he was a deist, he was not a Christian by any sense. In fact, the Jefferson Bible is still in print, where he took out all of Jesus's miracles. John Adams, who was sort of a Presbyterian, I suppose, but agreed with Jefferson that the biggest threat to America was the religious, arguably folks like yourself who want to see religion in politics. That those guys, those presidents, did not preside over a time of great moral decay? Or would you say that the slavery was a great moral decay and it was because they weren't good Christians? Although it seems to me that the main rationale for slavery it's in the Bible.
Well, number one, it's not in the Bible. It's a perversion of
course it's
scriptures in the Bible. But let's come to now. Tom, you're old enough to know this. 30 years ago, it wasn't that we were shouting God and Jesus and biblical verses all over the place, but there was a culture that at least accepted biblical truth, biblical values. Over the last 20 years, there's been a concerted effort, especially in the media, to remove God from every kind of an issue.
Bill, you and I are both old enough to remember that. I would submit that probably we were a little more secular 30 years ago. I mean, maybe more people went to church, but I don't think there were as many people who were strong evangelicals as there are now. It seems that whenever the country goes into a bad economic time, what you see is evangelism popping up. I mean, you can see that cycle, that kind of reverse cycle of bad economics equals high levels of evangelism. Since the founding of this country, wouldn't it be more accurate to say that during the time of a strong middle class and a strong economy in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s, that there was arguably less religious activity?
No, actually, it's just the opposite. The evangelism you're seeing today really is pathetic compared to what it was 30, 40 years ago. The only reason it's even noticed is because there is such a dearth, and it's the church's fault.
30 years ago, other than Billy Graham, who was out there?
Listen. I remember when I was going to school in the 60s, 90% of the kids in my class, they went to church every Sunday. Now 90% of kids don't go to church. Here's what's happened, Tom. You have had religion, and it's the church's fault.
How does that?
Right up front. It's the church's fault.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with your statistics, although I think they're slightly exaggerated. But and B, I would say, it's the church's fault. It is. Very interesting piece recently in the New York Times about how the Catholic Church has got people falling away. I personally think churches are like in clubs, and the churches that have the highest barriers to entry and the most rituals and you've got to go through a very, very specific song and dance are the ones that seem to last the longest. The Mormons are very good at this, for example. The Catholic Church, I think that when they gave up the Latin Mass, it was a huge mistake. They lost we're the in club or a piece of it, But that's the sociology of religion. What I'm baffled by is people who would suggest that our gun violence culture or whatever, and actually murder is down now from where it was 10, 20 years ago, but that to the extent that it's still a problem, that it's a problem because of a lack or presence of religion. It seems to me like the two are unrelated.
Tom, let me tell you something. The church over the last 30, 40 years has removed itself from the culture. We've gone into this little subculture we've created with Christian television and Christian radio and Christian publications and Christian this. They've removed themselves from the culture. And what we have now is a culture of death. It's a horrific thing that 12 people lost their lives in a movie theater last Thursday night in Aurora, Colorado. But how many of your listeners have thought for 1 second today that in the last 24 hours, we've slaughtered 4,000 innocent babies in this nation alone? I mean, we have created a culture of death where life is meaningless now, and that just facilitates an environment for a guy like this crazy guy in Colorado, Jared Loughner, or whoever
First of all,
else, to do what they do.
More than half of the states in this country, people basically don't have access to abortion. There's no way there's 4,000 of them going on, unless you're talking about as a consequence of people taking birth control pills.
It is. It's a legitimate statistic. 4,000 a day in this country alone.
Surgical abortions.
Actual abortions.
Surgical abortions.
Term. What? Yeah, Planned Parenthood clinics, wherever you're.
Surgical abortion. No, I'm not buying the numbers.
A day.
But it doesn't matter. This is.
It doesn't matter.
Well, no. My point. If you want to turn this into a debate about abortion, we can do that.
I'm not turning a debate. But what I'm saying.
But what happened in Colorado was those were fully grown up people who got killed. And the guy who killed him, and what I don't get is why anybody would say that the people who were killed are not going to go to heaven if they weren't members of a particular church.
Well, that's a theological belief, and if you believe the Bible, if you're a Christian, you believe the only way to go to heaven is through faith in Jesus Christ. If something else, this incident has at least, I hope.
Well, at least the Mormons have this little ritual where you can kind of stand in for somebody who died and get them to heaven. I mean, isn't that kind of inclusiveness kind of cool?
No, actually, it's the most inclusive thing at all, because Jesus said, any who believe. You don't have to be born a certain way. It's a matter of faith. But if you believe the Bible, and in this incident probably shows more than anything how quick life can be over. It's a fleeting thing. It's over quick.
Jerry Newcomb.
That's why faith is so important.
Good point. Jerry Newcomb, evangelical spokesperson for the Christian radio AFA Today show, said that the shooting had happened because we have lost our fear of God and hell. I really don't. I just want to say I don't believe it. I
think there's an element of truth to that, but I think more than anything, we have desensitized an entire generation that's now grown up, desensitized
to what?
To the preciousness and the value of life. Whether it's through the violence in the movies, the video games.
How about the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Has no importance.
Hello?
I'm here.
How about the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan? How about capital punishment?
Defending your country is a whole different thing than some guy going
to a movie. Those are different things. Okay. Bill Keller, the website is liveprayer.com. Thanks, Bill.